If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done. If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. Have you ever had a conversation about someone being the one? Or better yet, maybe someone told you that they thought that you were the one. And when we say the one, we're talking about someone that could make someone happy or, make them feel good. Maybe someone that they would want to date, or maybe the one that they would marry. Now, conversely, there are those who are not the one. And a lot of times there are signs that this person is not the one, and we tend to ignore the signs. On this podcast, I'm going to give you some key indicators about the signs that they are not the one. And I'll also give you some red flags as well. So sit back, relax, we'll drop the theme music, and we'll get the podcast jumping. Let's get it. Welcome back. As I mentioned at the top, I'm talking about signs that they are not the one. Now, I'll be the first to admit that this concept is really a lot easier said than done. And the reason being is that when you're in the initial stages of getting to know someone, you really don't know who you're meeting or who you're getting into because, people can tend to be whomever they want to be at this point. Especially now with the advent of social media and the internet, people can, front and perpetrate and be who they want to be. So, kind of weeding out what it is that you want and who you're looking for can be, it can be a tedious process to say the least. I was actually doing some work online and I came across this headline and it got me to thinking about doing this podcast. And one of the things that jumped out at me was a quote. And I think this eloquently describes this podcast and what we're going to talk about. And it says, and I quote, "Sometimes in the fog of excitement, our vision is impaired, and this hinders our ability to see the tell-all signs and red flags. Despite what you've been taught in school, that small voice in the back of your mind isn't necessarily your conscience. It may be the last functioning piece of your brain, desperately telling you that the person you're seeing is not even close to being, quote unquote, the one." Close quote. I couldn't have said it better myself. Now I'll be the first to admit, with, full disclosure, I'm married. So, I'm not out looking for anybody. And as my single friends tell me, the last time I was on the dating scene, Tupac was still alive. But I will say this much. Although I'm out of the game, if you will, I still have single friends, both male and female. And, I hear them talk, and we talk constantly about, what it's like to be dating and things of that nature. And this podcast necessarily isn't about dating, but it's sometimes when you find someone and you think that they might be the one, like the quote says, sometimes our vision is impaired and, some of the warning signs and some of the red flags are right there in front of our face. and we tend to look the other way. And I think part of that honestly could, be a byproduct of what society says, because society will tell you that, ladies, you should have a man, or ladies, you should be married by a certain age and you should have kids, and fellas, you don't want to be the old guy in the club, and so forth and so on. And I think you have to take that stuff with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, when you look at people, and I study people, I'm gonna be honest, I study people, are you in a relationship or are you seeking a relationship for long-term commitment? Are you seeking a relationship to be married? And, once you get married, are you seeking a marriage to be in the marriage long-term? I mean, those are questions that you really have to answer yourself. Nonetheless, I think it's baby steps. Start with a friendship, get to know someone, start with a friendship, and then kind of go from there. The concept of someone being, quote unquote, the one. I'm sure each and every one of you under the sound of my voice has been told either you're the one, or you pointed out someone in your life that could have been the one or is the one. And, for whatever reason, maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. Nonetheless, I think we all get to that point. And even in doing this podcast, I had to kind of think back to is there ever been a time where I said, okay, she's the one? I mean, again, I met my wife in college. So even when I met her, it wasn't she's the one. It wasn't. I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't even checking for her like that. She was cool, but, it wasn't like that. So, you just don't know. And I think sometimes we, rush things. And again, some of the warning signs are right there in front of us, and we choose to look the other way. With that being said, I'm going to give you a couple of indicators that they're not the one for you. Number one, you don't trust him or her. Well, I mean, it goes without saying, if there's no trust, there's no friendship, there's no relationship, period. I'm not even really a fan of the whole jealousy thing. I know there have been times in the past, where, just personally, where maybe someone I was dating tried to make me jealous. I've never been the jealous type. And I've never been the type that's been untrustworthy. I think you put trust into people, and you keep them from being jealous, I think. But, some people are just jealous by nature, I guess. But, if you're at the point where you're you can't trust that other person, then really that person's not for you. If your man is hacking into your email account, checking your phone, following you out when you're out and about, that ain't love, boo. I mean, it's it's not, man. They don't trust you. And I think, when some people use jealousy as a crutch for their lack of trust. And because I'm not a jealous person, that doesn't fly with me. So when you say you don't, I'm just a little bit jealous, or I'm jealous of other guys, or I'm jealous of other women, so forth and so on. Nah, because if you have that person, then they're yours. You don't really, you're not worried about anybody else. So, trust. That's the first thing I wrote down. Yeah. If you don't trust that person, then, and if they don't trust you, then, that's one sign that they are not the one. The next thing I wrote down, you have a list of things that they need to stop doing or saying, or maybe even wearing, if you want the relationship to work. Those are what you call flaws. And we all have flaws. Even the most mundane relationship have flaws. There are flaws in people. There are flaws in relationships. There's flaws in marriages. It is what it is. None of us are perfect. Anybody tell you that they have the perfect relationship, or better yet, we have the perfect marriage, you a damn lie. There's no such thing. So if you're really, really concerned about fixing someone's flaws, or they're concerned about fixing your flaws, they're either not the one that you want, or maybe you're just not ready for a serious relationship. And then by that point, if you realize that you're not ready for a serious relationship, then cutting them loose, it gives you a chance to kind of grow and gives you the opportunity to meet, someone else and someone who can embrace you, for who you are. But yeah, anytime there's a list of stuff that they need to stop doing or saying or wearing or stuff like that, like fellas, if you don't like the fact that she wears tight clothes and that's a condition for you, or let's say, ladies, you don't like the fact that he smokes weed, really and truly, if you look at it from a practical standpoint, it's a deal breaker. And you're kind of holding on to something, hoping that they're going to fix it and change it. I always say, man, the core of who people are, that's who you are. Like the core of who I am, I'm not any different than I was 20 years ago. I'm not at the core. Now, things have changed about me. I think I've grown as a man, but no, the core of who I am, same dude. So yeah, that's another sign that they're not the one. This next sign is pretty obvious, but I've seen it work negatively. If they're struggling with an addiction, if your woman is on crack is whack. No, but seriously, if someone's struggling with an addiction, that's the fact that you love them doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Because ultimately they're going to love their habit or what they're addicted to way more than they love you. And I know a couple of people who struggle with substance abuse and been in relationships. I know one person who actually had a gambling addiction, and, it ultimately cost him his marriage. So, you can have all of those things, but ultimately their addiction will take over. So, don't fool yourself into thinking that, okay, just because I got her in a relationship, I'm going to help get her off, liquor. Nah, if she's an alcoholic, she's an alcoholic. You ain't going to change that. You can try your best to, make things better, but ultimately, no, there's nothing about that you can change. An addict may be able to change, but they're only going to do it on their terms. That's what it is. And once you come to realize that, you're better off. And that is a key sign that they are not the one for you. Another thing, this one's major. You want kids, they don't want kids, or vice versa. Man, I know I can think of at least 4 people that I know, I'll put it like that, who this has actually destroyed their relationships and marriage. I know one person who went as far as to, threaten someone's life if they did not have a child. Who does that? Listen, kids are a beautiful thing. I have 4 of them. My wife and I have 4 kids. I love them to death. 3 boys, 1 girl. Light of my life. They are my heartbeats. But as a father, I will tell you that, parenthood is something that you have to be ready for. And if you find the one and they're not interested in becoming a parent, then and that's something that you want to do, then therein lies the problem. You can't force anyone to having a child. And fellas, you definitely can't knock her up. Well, you can, but if you knock her up and she really doesn't want to have a child, she could get rid of the child. And I've seen that happen too, unbeknownst to the man. That's not a good look. So again, if you want kids or she wants kids or whichever way it goes, you have to be on the same page. If you're not on the same page as far as wanting children, then, that's a sign that they're probably not the one. Another one I wrote down. The person avoids conflict at all costs. This is very paramount because in any type of relationship, there's going to be conflict. there's going to be arguments. There's going to be disagreements. Should there be knockdown, drag out fights? No. But when you have two people in a relationship, or better yet, two people in a marriage coming from two different directions, coming from two different places, coming from two different backgrounds, you're not going to see eye to eye on everything. Trust me, I don't see my wife and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. But, we try to find some type of common ground. But, we're two, and I'm just using myself as an example, like we're two headstrong people. So if she says the sky is purple, and if I say it's blue, we're both pretty much going to dig in on those colors, and nobody's going to change our mind. And it's okay to disagree, but at the same time, and experts will tell you that fighting is healthy. Not physically, but you know what I mean. But, when done right, you can air your grievances, fix your problems in your relationship, and have a better understanding. But just ignoring it and avoiding the conflict altogether, that's a problem. And that's a key sign that they're not the one. Another thing, your lifestyles. What if your lifestyles clash? Like if you're someone who is extremely frugal, hashtag cheap, and they like to live lavish and spend money, like to no end, that could be a problem. I think especially when you're talking about a serious relationship and then the possibility of marriage, financially, you need to be on the same wavelength as far as how you spend money. Maybe not necessarily what you spend money on, but, and then I know some people, like, I'll give you a perfect example. Good friend of mine, he makes high six figures. And so he's single and like, he's not interested. And it's going to sound crazy, but like, he's not interested in a woman who's not making as much, or, he's not going to date somebody making minimum wage. I guess I'll put it like that. And, could he be passing up on opportunities at love? Of course. But he just figures, to be honest, I'd never even try to tap into his skull about how crazy he sounds when he talks about that kind of stuff. But, if your lifestyles financially clash, that person's not for you, because for some people, money is a very, very key component of their life. And for others, not so much. And you got to be on the same wavelength. Next thing that may indicate that they're not the one, on paper, they seem great, but you got this strange little feeling. I think a lot of times we have that gut feeling and we don't necessarily follow that gut feeling. I was told a long time ago, go with your gut. Go with what's in, because a lot of times your first instinct, if you can't really put something on someone and say, okay, well, something's not right, you're not really feeling it the way that it should be felt. Usually your gut will tell you the right thing. Don't ignore it. You may get along and be real cool on a superficial level, but if your instincts are telling you that person is not the one, follow your instincts. And also wrote down some red flags here. Red flags, obviously, one comes to mind when someone is extremely charming. Now, I don't mean like, complimentary, but, people who really, really are self-absorbed, manipulative and demanding, a narcissist, if you will. Sometimes those people feel like they deserve special treatment. And those people tend to charm the pants off of everyone around them. And they are, for lack of a better term, con artists. So watch out for those. I don't want to, I'm not going to paint guys in that light, but I've seen a lot of men do that. And not as many women, but, just slick talkers. That's that's what we used to call it back in the day, in the 90s. We used to call them slick talkers. And so, some guys have the gift of gab. Some ladies got the gift of gab. And, you got to be careful with that. When people are extremely charming, that should raise a red flag. Along those lines, when someone showers you with tons and tons of compliments when you first start, kind of kicking it or whatever. They're telling you at the beginning that you're the best thing since sliced bread. They build you up to gain your trust, and then boom, they pull the rug from up under you. I think you have to be mindful of those people, because those are the people who really operate under the premise of what's in it for me. They're going to make you feel good, but they have ulterior motives. So you got to be mindful of that. The next thing I wrote down here is people who lack empathy. I think that goes without saying, but in the grand scheme of things, we all should have empathy to some degree about something or someone or some people, if you will. I don't like being around people who are just like you. I was really about to just start talking about somebody, but I'm not. But anyway, you don't want to be around people like that. People who aren't empathetic for others, particularly for you, or maybe, they say certain things in a condescending way, or they, talk down, and then they tell you, well, you just need to, loosen up, or you need to learn how to take a joke or something like that. Those are the type of people that, in reality, they need their ego stroked. And so they're going to put down other people to make themselves look better. Run away from those type of people. The next thing I have, people who thrive on control freaks. Not a good look whatsoever. For me, that's a huge red flag, because I think for the majority of you who are listening, I don't think that there's that many kids that listen to this podcast. So we're all grown here. So, if you're grown, you have control over yourself. You have control over what you do, where you go, who you talk to, whatever you do, however you get down. And to have another grown person other than the people who birthed you into this world tell you what to do and where to go, how high to jump. Nah, man, it's not cool. I am very leery of people who are control freaks, because they're never satisfied, and you can do no right in their eyes, because, they're calling the shots. So that's a huge red flag for me. And then, there are those who make the rules, and the rules are constantly challenged, and they're constantly breaking the rules. That shouldn't be. There's rules and challenges and laws, if you will, to every relationship or friendship. And, it's basically these type of people isn't a part of their vocabulary. Steer clear of those people. Those people have serious issues, and generally speaking, they're going to fight you at every turn, pretty much, because anything that you say or do, they're going to try to debunk it and cause an issue. The next thing that is a huge red flag for me, when you have people who say that everybody's hating them or everybody's jealous of them, or better yet, everybody loves them. Nah, everybody don't love you. Trust me, for as dope as I am, I'm sure that there are quite a few people that don't like me. I really don't care one way or the other, but it's cool. It's good to know that there should be some people that don't like you. That's just the truth. I mean, everybody ain't supposed to like you, but there are those who are so self-absorbed that, they feel like people are jealous of them. Either way, if you don't, accept their advances and what they're doing and support them, then they consider you to be a hater. So, it's very narcissistic behavior. You don't want to be around those people. That's a huge red flag. And the last thing I got written down here, if they have a long history of infidelity or breakups, I'll let you decide where you stand with people who've been cheating in previous relationships back to back to back to back. Personally, it's not really something I can kick it with. Like if that's your steez, that's how you get down. I mean, that's you. I don't function like that. So if I'm talking to a woman and she's been like, well, yeah, I cheated on my last boyfriend, cheated on the one before that, cheated on the one before that. For as dope as I think I am, you're probably going to cheat on me too. So no, I can't kick it like that. Bad breakups. Those are red flags too. And it's funny because like, I think when you're in the initial stages of getting to know someone, you ask them about their previous relationships and things of that nature. And it's funny because like I would always tell people, and I've talked about this on my podcast before, like, you know, if I put up my record of relationships, the record's not good. I mean, it obviously has shaped itself out because I've gotten married and been married here now for 17 years at the time of this recording. But you know, prior to that, you know, it was I had a bad, you know, I messed up some relationships, and you know, it wasn't all my fault, but you know, I messed up some. So you know, I didn't have, but it wasn't like, you know, really really bad things. It's just things just didn't work, and it was part of it was me, you know. So I admit to that, but I tell people all the time, just because, you know, you become the one or you found the one, you know, sometimes you have to go through a lot of bad, you know, things as far as relationships and experiences to find the one and find the right, you know, person for you. So it just really depends on how you take these you know, these missteps, if you will, and your relationships, and then cultivate it from there. But yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. Those are some signs that they're not the one. Also gave you some red flags as well. Make sure that you apply it into your everyday, because trust me, there's a lot of stuff that you can learn just from watching people. That's going to do it for me. Thank you for checking out another edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5 G's.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.